Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason and I am your watch guy today. We're often posed with the question of what we can get for a certain amount of money. Now say you only have £300 in your budget and you want to pick up a really nice dive watch. Well, your options really are to go Seiko pre-owned, or you're going to go a little bit down market. Now if we look towards the micro brand category, there's often a really good bargain to be had. And this month, that bargain, I think, is with Bencler. This is a new release on Kickstarter, and it is what we will be reviewing today. Bencler are a company out of Italy, and they are releasing their first watch. It is a dive watch, and it is absolutely beautiful. Before we go any further, let me tell you about some links in the description. Obviously, I have the Kickstarter link for this Bencler piece if you wanted to pick that up after this video. I also have their website down there. As well as that, following it, I have my own website in the description. Now, that is where I sell a lot of my used watches, and it's where you can get a really good bargain on a lot of pieces, if I do say so myself. I've reduced a lot of pieces recently, and I think that there's a few gems on there. Now, if you wanted to pick anything up there, you can use a code JTWG10, and that will get you 10% off. With that out of the way, a little bit of housekeeping. Bencler are not giving me this watch to keep. I am sending this on to another reviewer. However, once the production is complete, I will be getting one to keep for myself. Just so we're open and honest here. With that out of the way, let me turn this camera around and let's have a look at this new dive watch. So this is the Bencler Rocks Diver. It is an Italian designed watch. It is now available on Kickstarter. You can pick it up for $339. That translates roughly to £289. And with a Miyota 9000 series movement in the back, I think it's a pretty good deal. But what else do you need to know about this piece? Well, let's start with the dimensions here. We have a 39mm diameter to the casing on this one, which brings in very wearable for people with smaller wrists like myself, and really does give it that almost skin diver type of aesthetic. It is 12.1mm in thickness. Lug to lug, it comes in a very reasonable 46.2mm, and we have 20mm lugs on this piece. Now, one thing that I really do appreciate about this watch is the level of finishing throughout the casing. As you can see, we do have really nice levels of brushed and polished surfaces. I will get some extra shots of those for you. And something that I'm always a fan of is these definitive angles to the casing. Almost robust and angular in design, however, still really pleasant to look at, very nicely curved, and really do play to the eye very nicely also. The lugs really do make a feature of themselves, protruding the case up here, very thin and very elegant in some ways. Now, on the prototype, we have a pull-push crown. However, I do believe that they are going to upgrade that to a screw-down crown, which is to be expected considering that the watch is rated with a 300-meter water resistance rating, which again, for something that has diver in the title, that's something that we need, that 300 meters. Now, as we move to the back of the case, you will have to excuse some of these scratches. This has been through a couple of other reviewers, and as you know, we do like to really put these watches through their paces. This very clear and well-designed case back is to be appreciated. You can't really mistake the rocks and the water for anything else, can you? Usual information around the outer edge, and there's a screw down case back which aids in this water resistance rating. The crown itself has a good level of grip to it. It is slightly smaller than I would have liked. However, it is signed with the Bencler logo, and that is again something that I appreciate. The bezel on this one really does make a feature of itself, and you'll see that even more so in the loom shot. It's 120 clicks, unidirectional, and it really does have a nice premium feeling click to it, a very definitive click to its movement, very well fitted to the case. That is a ceramic bezel insert also with a very unique design to it, with this blue indication on the dive scale there, as well as that triangular tip up at the 12 o'clock. That's a really nice design. It does differentiate this watch to a lot of other watches that play in the same type of design features or play with the same type of design features. We have a slightly domed sapphire crystal in this piece, and one thing that I really did like is that it flows very well into the shape of this bezel. The bezel sits slightly with a curvature, and that does flow nicely into that sapphire crystal. It does feel like they've really placed it well with this piece. Now, as mentioned prior, this watch is rated at 300 meters water resistance. Very suitable for any dive excursions or any water excursions that you may have planned. As we move into the dial itself, it is really one of the features of this watch. They are calling this a sand-blasted dial, and I believe that's because it does have that almost sandpaper type of aesthetic to it. I really do enjoy that, and it really does play well with the whole Rocks Diver type of theme that this watch has got going for it. It gives it a grain-like feature and really does give another dimension when this watch hits the light, or when this dial hits the light. I really do enjoy that design feature. The indices are applied to the dial, and they have their own unique type of shape around the 1239 positions. Down at the 6 o'clock, we do have a date window. I'm a fan of a date window at 6 o'clock, and that's because it really does help the watch stay with this very symmetrical shaping to it, and really does aid in that symmetry, which we all do enjoy in a watch, I think. The chapter ring around the outer edge holds the minute track. Very simple black chapter ring with white markings, very clear to see, very legible. It also does aid in the depth to feel of this dial. It almost does give it a submerged type of feel to the eye, and I really do like that. I think that that is something that I really do look for in a dive watch. I think that that's something that really does play nicely with the eye. Logo is applied at 12 o'clock in a stainless steel effect piece. I do believe it's also brushed, which is a nice little added feature. Bencler print below that. Above the 6 o'clock, we have 300 meter water resistance, followed by automatic, which signifies this Miyota 9000 series movement in the back. The handset is a very simple triangular handset. It has very, very nice levels of brushing to the hands themselves, and I think that again adds a little piece of quality to this design. I really do think that that's a step up on the market. Not everyone does that with their watches. Not everyone adds that little slight touch, and it's really appreciated here. They are loomed. We do have a really nice loom signature on this piece. I will get to that shortly. The second hand has a very nice distinguishing lollipop tip to it, and that is bordered in a red accent, and that does accent the dial very nicely, as well as play aesthetically very well with the water resistance print. So I enjoy that also. The date window is matched to the dial. Again, that's something that we do appreciate here. I think that adds a level of quality that we don't always see. Now, let me get into this loom shot. So I am sure you'll all agree that the loom on this one is actually pretty good. It's a really, really nice loom signature. Very identifiable, very unique to this watch. And as I mentioned prior, the 20-minute countdown is actually easier to find on this piece, considering the fact that it hasn't got that blue line throughout. And that is not only a nice feature in a unique type way, but it is also a very functional feature, which is nice to see. Obviously, we do look for aesthetics in these pieces, but functionality is definitely a nice addition to them. Now, the loom itself is quite bright. It is very legible, very easy to read, and it does have that little level of uniqueness. Now, for this type of price point, I think that they've done quite well. I'd have to give this one an 8 out of 10. It's not the most unique in the world. It's not the brightest in the world, but it is really lovely to look at, and it does have some real nice features to it. So well done to Bencler there. I think that they've really done a good job with this one. Okay, so as we move away from the head of the watch, we move onto the band that this piece is sat on. This is a handmade leather Italian band and is absolute quality, I'll tell you that much. One little feature that you don't really see much on other watches is, well, I hope this is a feature, not a design flaw. You see this little tether of yarn here? Well, that holds this keeper in place. Now, I would have preferred it to hold this keeper in place because obviously I have a small wrist and I've always needed to use this one to keep my strap in place further down the band. So that may be something to look at in the production. Really lovely contrasting pieces of thread on the band there. Now, this is just a brushed buckle. However, I do think that will be updated in the actual production piece. I think that they really need to, just to add that level of quality. Again, the yarn accenting the band very nicely here. Good level of adjustment. I have been wearing it on the tightest fit myself. One thing to mention is that these will be supplied with a beads of rice bracelet. So that is definitely something to also look forward to. I think that that will really solidify this Rocks Diver type of aesthetic that they're going for here. Now, let me get this on wrist. A nice 39mm dive watch. That's something that people with my wrist size really do, well, we do ourselves over for. Really nice fit to the band. Very premium feel to that leather band. I would have loved to have seen the beads of rice bracelet too, just as a distinguishing look. This does give it a more dress diver type of feel. However, I will mention that. Fits very nicely to my 6¼ inch wrist. And honestly, this type of dimension is really something that I look for in a dive watch, just because it's not something that you always get in the market. And as well as that, when you do get it, it's not always the design that you wish for or the look that you wish for. This is fantastic, in my opinion. I really do enjoy this one. Now, I know a lot of people enjoy the smaller dive aesthetic. Not for everyone, however, it is a little bit of a trait in the market at the moment, a smaller dive watch. Let me take this off wrist and let me talk to you about the downfalls of this piece. It's fully funded on Kickstarter, so that says plenty to me, to be honest, especially when it's not exactly a budget basement type of watch. I mean, it does pack in a lot of quality for the price that they are offering this out at. Sub £300 is not a massive amount of money to pay for a dive watch, and I think that this one packs in more quality than many in that type of market. However, that being said, this will be priced at $599 in the actual retail market. Now, I do think that that is pushing the outer limits of what we would expect to pay myself. So if this is something that you are looking at picking up, or if this is something that you like, definitely pick it up in the Kickstarter campaign and get yourself a nice little saving. The Miyota 9000 series movement in the back, absolutely fantastic. I really do enjoy that. It will be fitted with a screw down crown. That being said, the fit on this prototype was a little bit worrying. As you can see, I hope you can see as I move it here, it's lopsided. So I know that this is something that they will be addressing in the production. However, it is also something that I have noticed whilst reviewing and therefore do need to mention it to you. Not something that's a major concern to myself, just because I know that they are changing that through production. So just a little footnote for them. Secondly, this is the type of design that we are kind of seeing pretty much every other month now from micro brands. I believe that it's an easy way to get into the market, and it's becoming quite crowded. Now, Bencler have actually done something a little bit different here with that dial aesthetic, as well as the really nice loom signature and the bezel itself, as well as just being a well-crafted piece. However, I would like to see micro, this is not really a moan to Bencler at all, it's more the market itself. I would like to see micro brands start to do something a little bit different something that really sparks imagination instead of the 40mm dive piece that we see every other month. It's a lovely vintage, almost aesthetic, and I really do enjoy it. However, I have seen a decent few through the doors. Now, that being said, I do think that Bencler will push on from this and really solidify themselves in a microbrand market because of the quality that they're offering for this type of price. This is really the type of watch that an audience can get behind, and therefore I am very much looking forward to seeing what they do in the future. So guys, what do we think of Bencler's first attempt on the market? It's going to be successful. They've already been fully funded on Kickstarter, so we don't have to even question that. However, I do feel like this will be quite a successful design in the future. Also, I'm not quite sure about the $600 price tag. I think that's a little bit higher end than what we should be expecting for this piece. However, if it sits around 400, I think that is a really good deal. And it's especially a very good deal if you pick it up at the early bird price, which is £280+. I think that's an astonishing deal for what you're getting here, especially if you're after a smaller sized dive watch. Thank you to Bencler for sending this one in to me. If you'd like to pick it up or if you'd like to have a look at their campaign, linked in the description, as well as their website. Following that, that is my own links to my website. There's a few others down there too if you wanted to check them out. I'd be really grateful if you went and had a look. Thank you for watching this one, guys. I really do appreciate it. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.